He stood before the world, calm, fearless, and burning with truth. In just minutes, President Ibrahim Traoré dismantled decades of silence, exposing how Africa's gold, oil, and resources were stolen in broad daylight. His voice thundered through the hall, but it was his final sentence that left even world leaders speechless. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the president of Burkina Faso, gave a powerful speech at the very first Alliance of Sahel State Summit in Niger. Speaking alongside leaders from Mali and Niger, Troy tackled a question that's on many people's minds. Why is Africa, a continent so rich in natural resources, still trapped in poverty? While he didn't repeat the exact words he used at the 2023 Russia-Africa Summit, the message was clear. Troy believes Africa's poverty isn't just bad luck. It's the result of a long history of exploitation, fake independence, and modern-day neo-sea colonialism. He explained how the so-called independence African countries got in the 1960s wasn't real. Instead, what followed was the plundering of Africa's gold, oil, and other resources, while terrorism and instability were used to keep African nations weak and divided. According to Traoré, this isn't just history. It's still happening today. That's why he and the other leaders of the alliance, Colonel Aimigou of Mali and General Abdourahmane Tani of Niger, are pushing for a new path. They want real independence, real control over their economies, and real security for their people. In his speech, Troy talked about big goals like food security, better roads and airlines, and making sure African countries don't rely on foreign currencies or systems to survive. His main point was that Africa must stand on its own feet if it wants to defeat poverty and create lasting progress. This speech connects closely with what he said in Russia the year before. Back then, he asked a hard question. How can a continent with so much sunshine, water, and natural wealth still be the poorest? And why are African leaders always begging the world for help? His answer was clear: neo-sea colonialism and weak leadership. He also pointed out how poverty pushes young Africans to risk their lives trying to reach Europe, often dying in the process. That's something he believes can only change if Africa takes control of its destiny. They enjoy saying it every year in their economic surveys. Burkina Faso is the poorest country. Mali is the poorest country. Niger is the poorest country. We are ranked among the last. Very well. If we are as poor as they say, but when the time came to take responsibility, we asked these masters to leave. Why don't they want to leave? When we take the case of Niger, for over 40 years, some countries have been exploiting uranium to produce energy for themselves. From Ottawa to Paris, the streets are lit up. That's the light. But in Niger, it's darkness that is served to us. When you go to our states, our lands are riddled with holes everywhere in search of precious metals like gold. But often there isn't even the slightest accessible road to reach the areas where they exploit gold, let alone some basic social services. That's why we decided to revolt and take the destiny of our countries into our own hands. There are many other examples. But when we decided to do so, well, we were approached by some armchair slaves to deliver the message of their master, because they had created this kind of polymer chain that rises to the head of our states to serve them, and we came to break the chain, and it's inconceivable for them. They approached us and asked us to fall in line to become part of the elite that must lead Africa, because they have a trained and conditioned elite that they must follow, who are embedded in that chain. We refused BAT to fall in line with them, and from then on, hostilities began. They have infiltrated our areas with several mercenaries, trainers. Agents have descended into the Sahel hoping to carry out barbaric, cowardly attacks against our populations, hoping to incite them to revolt. In addition to these on-the-ground attacks, communication attacks, manipulation, and disinformation are rampant in their ranks. But the people of the Sahel have understood, and never again will they be manipulated. They know where they come from. They know what they are doing, and they know where they are going. We will no longer allow this. People are awake and fighting today, not for ourselves, but for future generations. And thank you all for the fight that is being waged. This never makes us cry. We will not tremble. We will face it. We will fight for true independence, for our freedom. Because to scare the people of, as these individuals only have 3 terms in their mouths: democracy, freedom, human rights. Of course, their local lackey are only elected in a democratic, free and transparent process according to them, their values. What could be more normal? That they want to impose this on us because they are the ones who set the rules. Very well, we have decided to take responsibility for ourselves. That's why on July 26, 2023, when Niger decided to turn the page, the armchair slaves and their masters got on their high horses. They put their local lackey forward and decided to wage a war against the Nigerian people. So we said, anyone who dares to attack Nigeria will face us because we will wage a relentless war to the last drop of blood against anyone who dares to attack our states. This statement, this decision we made yesterday is relevant today and will be relevant tomorrow and forever. Thus, the AES was born on September 16, 2023, within a framework of mutual defense, but we deemed it necessary to extend and expand the architecture of the AES. What brings us together today should allow us, to venture into other areas beyond defense, notably finance and economy, infrastructure, health, education, and so on. I hope that these moments will be a story we write for the AES, but especially for Africa and the entire world. May God enlighten each and every one of us. May God inspire us in these tasks entrusted to us. And above all, when we carry out our work, let us keep one thing in mind, the supreme interest of our populations. With that, we pray once again to the good Lord to accompany us all in our various tasks, to protect our fighters who, thanks to them, allow us to sit here and discuss the future of our states. Once again, thank you. People of Niger, be united and in solidarity. People of the AES, the homeland or death. In an age of carefully crafted statements and politically safe speeches, Ibrahim Traoré broke the mold and then shattered it completely. Standing before a global audience, he delivered a speech not wrapped in diplomacy, but in raw truth. With each word, he tore into a history too long ignored, revealing how Africa's wealth had been looted, repackaged, and sold back to the very people it was stolen from. He did not whisper. He did not soften. He roared. He spoke of gold mines run by foreign companies while African children go hungry. He spoke of oil drilled from African soil, only to fund economies that have never stepped foot on the continent. He spoke of resources, traded like currency, while those who own the land remain in poverty. But what made his speech more than just powerful was its precision. Traoré didn't speak emotionally. He spoke factually. He named names. He quoted contracts. He cited statistics. And in doing so, he made it impossible to deny what has been happening in plain sight. As his words echoed through the room, some sat in stunned silence. Others fidgeted uncomfortably. But millions watching from across Africa stood taller. This was not just a leader defending his country. It was a son of the soil reclaiming his continent. What followed was a global ripple effect. Youth across African nations replayed the speech, sharing it like wildfire across social media. Hashtags surged. Schools analyzed it. Activists quoted it. Even international analysts, usually reserved in their language, admitted it was one of the most unapologetic calls for decolonization in modern history. But Traoré's message wasn't just about past crimes. It was a challenge for the future. He didn't ask for pity. He didn't ask for aid. He demanded respect. He demanded that Africa no longer be seen as a charity case but as a rightful power in the global arena, rich in resources, rich in people, and rich in potential. In his closing line, he didn't raise his voice. He simply said, "Africa is not poor. Africa has been robbed." And with that, he walked off the stage. No applause, no cheers, just a heavy silence, the kind that comes when truth hits harder than any weapon. That speech became more than just news. It became a turning point. Because Traoré reminded the world that Africa is no longer begging to be seen. It is demanding to be respected. And in that moment, a continent's pain was no longer hidden. It stood proud, visible, and ready to reclaim what was always rightfully its own.